So, what should we do? I think we have important obligations and interests in the world. I would not, therefore, cut and run, simply abandon the world and become an isolationist. Nor do I think, however, we should simply stay and die, continue with this strategy of onshore, large ground troops to wage this war on terror, which is producing more terrorists than it's killing. Instead, I believe we need a new approach. That new approach I call offshore balancing. Offshore balancing is a real military strategy to secure our interests and obligations overseas, but it relies not on onshore ground forces, but offshore military power, mostly air and naval power, and yes, if an extremist we needed ground troops, quick in, quick out. But mostly, it's not a military strategy at all, because it mostly relies on onshore economic and political power, to use economic and political tools to empower local allies. That's what offshore balancing really does, and that's the strategy that worked splendidly for decades in the 1970s and 80s in the Persian Gulf, when we successfully secured our interests and obligations there without stationing a single combat soldier on the Arabian Peninsula. That's the strategy that kicked Saddam out of Kuwait in 1990 and 1991. That's the strategy we departed from when we went to onshore ground presence, creating the problems, producing the terrorists. This is the strategy, offshore balancing, that we used to topple the Taliban in 2001. In 2001, the Taliban controlled 90% of Afghanistan. What did we do? We didn't put a large army in. We put in 50 ground troops. Well, actually, they were just simply forward air controllers for the offshore air power. Mostly what we did is we empowered the Northern Alliance, local allies, with economic and political means to strengthen them, and they kicked the Taliban out of the country in just 6 weeks. They smashed all of al-Qaeda's camps, and for years, Afghanistan was the good war while we were pursuing offshore balancing until 2006, when we shifted to onshore ground presence, and it became the bad war. And offshore balancing is the strategy that's working splendidly in Iraq to this day. In 2005, that first book I came out with called for offshore balancing in Iraq, executed over 3 or 4 years, transition over time. That's what we have done, ladies and gentlemen. And what's happened? Again, we haven't emboldened the terrorists. We have put them out of business. We have been cutting the fuse. And if you watch what's happening in Libya, you will see that the policy we're pursuing there, it's not foreign-imposed regime change. It's a variant of offshore balancing, this time for humanitarian goals, to save lives. And I believe this is the policy that we should pursue in many areas of the world going forward, because this is the policy that can best secure our interests and obligations without producing more terrorists, and it's the policy that will cut the fuse of the terrorist threat we face. So with that, I'll take your questions. Thank you.